How are you today? Fine, perfect. Today, inshallah, we are going to complete our talk about the externalities. If we finish the externalities, we will go to an introduction to taxes. We will learn the different types of taxes, like the progressive taxes, regressive taxes, flat, value-added taxes, indirect taxes, sales taxes. But before that, let's go or complete our talk about the externalities in detailed way. As we mentioned before, that we have 4 types of externalities: negative, positive, consumption, and production. Let's go to here for the negative externalities of a production. In the last class, we studied how to determine the deadweight loss or the potential welfare gains for when there is an externality, and how can we correct the situation, how can we internalize the externalities. If you remember that when we talk about the negative externalities of a production, we had an example which is pollution. When there is a pollution in the community, the marginal social cost, negative externalities of production, pollution. In this case, the marginal social cost is bigger than the marginal private cost. There is a cost for the private sector on the factors that emitting fumes creates problem, creates pollution, but the marginal social cost here is bigger than the marginal private cost. Now, how could the government deal with such a problem? How can the government internalize the negative externalities of a production in this case? Let's go here. As you see, the example here is the paint factory that emitting fumes. If a paint factory emits fumes that are harmful to people in the area, then there is a cost to the community that is greater than the cost of a production by the firm. Okay? What else? The firm has private costs, but then on top of that is creating external costs, which is a negative externalities of a production. And so in this case, the marginal social cost is bigger than the marginal private cost. What else? The government, or to internalize the externalities, or to solve the problem or the negative externalities of production, the government can impose taxes. So let's discuss how can the government internalize this situation. The government could tax a firm in order to increase the firm's private cost. If the government imposed a tax, the marginal private cost increased, so it back or shifts left, which means there is an increasing in the private cost. As the private cost increases, the produced quantity will go down from Q1 to Q star in this graph. Okay? What else? So, this shifts the marginal private cost upward towards the point of the social efficiency. If the tax is equal to the external cost of a production, then we say the government has internalized the externality. If the tax is smaller than the marginal external cost, if the imposed tax is less than the marginal external cost, there's we still have what? Deadweight loss, because here's the deadweight loss. The marginal social cost is bigger than the marginal social benefits. If the government imposed a tax which was, or let us assume it was, less than the marginal external cost. Here. Where is the new dead weight loss? Here we still have dead weight loss from this point here to this point. There is the dead weight loss. So if the tax, the imposed taxes, is less than the marginal external cost, in this case we still have a dead weight loss. The case that reach to or leads to reaching to optimality is the only when the imposed tax equals the marginal external cost. When the imposed taxes equals the marginal external cost, here the dead weight loss equals 0. Or the marginal social benefits equals the marginal social cost. When the marginal private cost shifts to the marginal social cost here. In this case, the dead weight loss becomes 0. Let's go to something else. Let's go to the problems with taxes here. As you see, the tax is one of the main tools that the government uses to internalize the externalities, but it has some problems. Number one, although taxes are seen as a way of making the polluter pay, there are some problems with this solution. Let's raise and discuss the problems with taxes. Number one, first, it's often difficult to measure accurately the pollution created and put a value on it which can be regained by the tax. It's difficult to calculate how much could we impose a tax. How much is the imposed tax would be? Okay? And because it's difficult to calculate the size of pollution created by this factory. It's difficult to calculate. Let us assume that we have 4 factors and the community. Factory number 1, 2, 3, 4. And these factories cause pollution. Factor number 1, 2, 3, 4. How much can we impose a tax on, or how much is the tax that should be imposed on the factor number 1, 2, 3, or 4, and 4? It's difficult it depends on the size of pollution created by each factory here. So it's difficult to determine how much is, or the exact size of tax here. Number 2. Second, it's also difficult to identify which firms are polluting and, yes, to what extent each firm is responsible for the pollution. Which is responsible for the pollution? Factor number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It's difficult to determine. Third, it's often argued that taxes don't actually stop the pollution from taking place. This is an opinion. Other solutions, legislations. Let's go to the government action to remedy legislations. The government could legislate and could ban the pollution firms or restrict their output in some way. It also passed laws relating to measurable environmental standard in the firm's production units. To meet the standards of the firm, we would have to spend money, thus increasing their private costs. Let's go to the positive externalities of a production. So, let's go to the second type of externality, which is the positive externalities of a production, which has been discussed in the last 3 lectures. the positive externalities production here, we proposed or had an example which is the printing, the big printing, the positive externalities of a production. Big printing. If you remember that we assume that the bigger printing create new skilled workers and they went to the community to work with, so the marginal social cost is less than the marginal private cost because there are benefits to the community, and the big printing here had a cost which was bigger than the social for the community. So on the graph here, the marginal private cost is bigger than the marginal social cost, and here is the original E1, original equilibrium. This is the potential welfare gains. Okay, but let's go to the example here. The example here, as you see, a large printing firm provides high quality training to its employees. This is the example. A big printing, large printing firm provides high quality training for its employees. This is a cost of the firm. Okay? What else? When employees leave the printing firm and go to other firms, there is a benefit to the other firms who don't have spent money on training their new workers. They don't pay money for training. They are already skilled here. Okay? So the society has gained from the training given by the large printing firm. Smooth? So the marginal private cost is bigger than the marginal social cost. How can we assist, or here we have a potential welfare gain. What are the solutions here? So the government can do the following or use the following tools to internalize the externalities here, to encourage the larger printing for additional training courses for the community, for new staff, for new trainers. So the government can subsidizing the training courses. So the government could subsidize the firms that offer the training. The government could subsidize the large printing here, the large firm, by providing them with the subsidies. If this were to happen, then the marginal private cost curve would be shifted downwards by the subsidy. So we will try to make the marginal private here, let us assume this is 10, it's bigger than 7. We have to decrease the marginal private cost for the large firm. Smooth? By providing them with subsidies. By the subsidy, the marginal private here, the marginal private cost will shift down. Smooth? صح؟ طيب. What else? So the marginal private cost, then the marginal private cost would be the same as the marginal social cost. So as I mentioned that the marginal private cost should go down to 7. So 7 equals 7. تمام? The government could provide vocational training by setting up training centers for the workers in certain industries. But it takes a long time, big budget here to, the government should spend a lot of money for such training courses, for the vocational training. All this is possibly the cost would be high. Here's the idea. So the trainers may lack the experience or the expertise. Found the firms that may need this. Okay, let's go to something else. تمام هذا؟ Okay. The negative externalities of consumption. هذا ناقشناه in detail. هذا تبع السموكينج. By anti-advertising, by taxes. So I will go to the last case. Positive externalities of consumption. The narrative issue. نعم. No. Positive externalities of consumption here, vaccination. Yes. So I'll go to So as you see here, there are certain goods or services which when consumed or used will provide external benefits to the third parties, like the vaccination, as we mentioned. When people consume healthcare, for example, they create positive externality for society. If people are healthier, then they will not pass on illness, so that other people around them are less likely to become ill. The same. This is the example for the vaccination. In addition, a healthier workforce means that the economy will be more productive, which may be a benefit for the whole population. Thus, the marginal social benefits of consuming healthcare is greater than the marginal private benefits. هذا marginal بالvaccination. Marginal social benefits is bigger than the marginal private benefits. تمام? 10 is bigger than 7. So what shall we do? We have to increase the marginal private benefits. مظبوط؟ تمام. Here is the case. The marginal social benefits is bigger than the marginal private benefits, and this is here E1, the dead weight loss, or the potential welfare gains here. We can increase Q1 to Q star by either we can increase the marginal private benefits, encourage demand for vaccination, which leads to a rightward shifting of the marginal private benefits, or we can, so the quantity will increase from Q1 to Q star, or we can give subsidies for to encourage vaccination here. So supply shifts. This is the marginal social cost plus subsidies. There's a decreasing in the marginal social cost. Okay? What else here? So the solutions here are subsidizes for healthcare. The government could subsidize the supply of healthcare. This is one of the main solutions that the government could or try to use. Here is the marginal. The government's subsidies will shift the marginal social cost downward. So this is the marginal social cost plus subsidies. So the quantity it change from or increase from a quantity 1 to a quantity star. Okay. What else? Let's go to the problems with subsidizing the health care. Spending money. This is the main problem because it needs lots of money. The main problem with such solutions cost. Why? The provision is possible in many developed countries. But what about the developing countries here? Developing countries are not able to fund such schemes, and so don't fully benefit from the positive externalities that are to be gained from the consumption of healthcare. So the main problem for the developing countries are spending money here. The sources, how to get money for spending. Number two, what about the advertising? Is it effective to convince the population to go for vaccination? It depends. How can we convince them? They want the service to be free. If we provide them the service for them free, they will go for vaccination. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Advertising to consume healthcare products. The government could use positive advertising to encourage people to consume more healthcare products or services. This would shift the marginal private benefits curve to right, as we mentioned, toward the marginal social benefits curve, and would thus increase the welfare. Problems with advertising, the main problem here is that there may be a high cost in funding advertising, and although the effect may be beneficial in the long run, the short run benefits may be minimal. The government legislations. One of these tools, or one of the tools that used by the government to internalize the situation are the legislations. The government could pass laws insisting that citizens have vaccinations against certain diseases or have regular checks, but this will only be successful if the government provides this free of charge. Okay? Also, people often resent laws of this sort being imposed by the government. Tamam? Let's go to an introduction to taxes. In this part, we will study the different types of taxes. Why should the government use the taxes? What is the optimal rate of taxes? Okay? So, the key questions here for taxes: why is the government allowed to collect taxes? This is the major question here. How does the government acquire money to operate on the federal or state or local level? What are the three major types of taxes? How are they different? What are the principles of a government tax system? Okay? Why should the government collect taxes? Here are the main answers, or the main justifications for taxes. Number one, to redistribute or reallocate the wealth in the community, to run the government activities, which spending, to build and upkeep infrastructure, to reduce imports, to serve the government debts, to stop undesirable habits. Let's go to the principles for taxation, or for taxes. The taxes is the biggest revenue for the government. The government has to lay a tax system on a certain basis of the principles. We have 4 principles for the taxes. Number one here, the tax should be equity, certainty, convenience, and economical to collect. Let's go or pass here to discuss these principles. Number one, taxes must be equal. What does it mean? It means that the people in the same circumstances must pay the same amount. Ali gets or receives an income of $1,000, spend $200. Ahmed has the same circumstances, he has to pay the same. If he receives the same income and other same situation, the same circumstances, he has to pay the same. Okay? Number two, taxes must be certain. What does it mean? The amount of taxes paid should be certain and clear right from the beginning of the year. ما تيجي اخر السنه تقول لي والله انت طالع عليك 1 2 3 وانت مش فاهم شيء. تمام؟ واضح عندك من اول السنه شو بدك تدفعه. This means to allow people to plan their economic actions. بتعرف خطط. بدك تقول لي عليك تاكسز من بدايه السنه. تدفع على هيك وعلى هيك وعلى هيك وعلى هيك. Clear. هذا this means it should be clear. Taxes must be certain. This means that people know in advance what they will have to pay. Okay? Taxes must be economical to collect. This means that revenue, total revenue, or the government revenue tax revenue is bigger than tax collection cost or collection cost of taxes. This means that the taxes should be efficiently collected. This means that the revenue collected should exceed the cost of collection, and here as you see, and the cost of the tax collection should be small relative to the yield. Okay? What else? Taxes must be convenient to collect. This means that the tax should be collected in a way and at a time which is suited to the taxpayers. طبعا to avoid the tax evasion, we have to collect taxes in the appropriate times for the taxpayers. Okay? Let's go to the different types of taxes. Let's go to the different types of taxes. We have progressive taxes, regressive taxes, proportional taxes. Let's go to the progressive taxes. ضرائب التصاعدية. To understand this, let's go to the example and come back to the definition for the progressive taxes. Progressive taxes means that as the income increases, the tax rate increases. That's it. The brackets here. As the consumer or the income increases, tax rate increases. Positive relationship between income and taxes or tax rates. Let's go to the example, and then we will come back to the narrative issues. Let us assume that you had $100,000 of tax or taxable income last year. Under the progressive tax system, you might pay tax 0% on the first $25,000. Let's divide your income, the $100,000, into 3 or 4 groups. The first group of your income, first bracket of your income, from 0 to $25,000, the amount of income that less than $25,000, you will pay, this is the brackets, income, you have to pay the percentage of taxes 0. Yes. And you have to pay 10% on the next $50,000. ال 50,000 اللي بعدهم اللي هم من 25 لحد 75 you have to pay 10% and 30% on the remaining 25,000 من 75 ل 100,000. How much? 30%. Now, the question is for the total tax bill of, or will be 0 times $25,000 for this is the first group. 0 times this is the total tax, or the progressive tax here. Zero times 25,000 equals 0, and 10% times 50,000 اللي هو difference between هذا وهذا. هذا ناقص هذا، تمام؟ 50,000. إذن هذا راح يكون عندنا 0.1 times 50,000, and then 100,000 minus 75,000. هذا بدنا نحط عليهم 30%. بصير عندنا لو 25,000 times 30%. كله نعمل summation له هيك. قديش بيطلع لنا التوتال؟ You have to pay 12,500. Progressive tax means we divided our income into 3 parts. The lowest here, تمام؟ 0 taxes. اللي بعدهم 10%. اللي بعدهم 30%. لو في إشي ممكن أحط 40%. هذا اسمه progressive taxes. تمام؟ ماشي بشكل progressive. 0, 10%, 30%, 40%, 50. اوكي؟ جروبات.
طب ما في ليميت معين يعني؟
لا هذا it depends on the government. The government decisions. The government policies. تمام؟ نقرأ الناراتيف نشوف. Progressive taxes are based on the ability to pay principals. The taxpayers at a higher income level pay a larger proportion of their incomes in taxes than the people مالهم at lower levels. بمعنى لو في ناس عندنا شريحة الانكم تبعها 25,000 حيدفعوا 0 taxes. هاي التصنيفات. طب واحد بياخد 50,000 حيدفع 25، حيدفع ال 10% على 25 على شو اسمه الجزء اللي ضل ال 25,000. تمام؟ هذا شو معنى هيك؟ Taxpayers at higher income levels pay larger proportion of their incomes in taxes, تمام؟ than the people at lower levels. طب هذا خليه دخله مش 100,000، خليه 130,000، 130,000. بضل عنده 30,000 وحط اللي عليه 40%. أو someone else عنده income هالقد غير هذا. بيطلع عنده هذا حط 30,000 في 40% ويحطه على التوتال، بيطلع هذا الشخص pays more than this person. تمام؟ وهذا اللي هو المفهوم هنا هيك. تمام؟ طيب شايف هنا طلع the more money individuals make, the more money they are asked to pay in taxes. The more money the individuals make, they have to pay more money. They are asked to pay more money. And here is the graph that shows the relationship between income. Here the low income, high income increases as the income increases, the tax rate increases. This is the idea, okay? Let's go to the regressive taxes. Before going to the narrative here, let's go to the example. تفهم الاكزامبل تفهم الناراتيف. اما نحكي لك ناراتيف مش هتفهم اكزامبل. تمام؟ او مش هتفهم ايش بحكي. For example here, imagine two individuals, each purchase $100 of clothing per week, and they each pay $7 in tax on their retail purchases. We have two persons, two consumers. Buyer number one and buyer number two, or the consumer number two. The buyer number one bought clothing by $100. The purchase $100, and he pays $7 as a tax. The second buyer bought $100 clothing and pays the same $7. هذا sales taxes. تمام؟ This person, number one, or the income of the person or the buyer number one was, let us assume it was $2,000 per week. هذا دخله $2,000. وهذا الانكم هذا الانكم تبعه، لا هذا ماشي معنا، $320. هذا انكم، وهذا تاكس، وهذا البرتشيز، الفاليو بيرتشيز. هذا هي هنا الفاليو بيرتشيز، وهذا التاكسز، tax paid or sales taxes، وهذا الانكم. How much is the tax rate for the first consumer or for the first payer? قديش دفع taxes هذا؟ Although his income is high, he pays how much? $7 from $2,000. So the tax rate paid here for the first payer equals $7 over $2,000 equals how much? 0.35%. دفع هالقد من دخله. طب الثاني نشوف قديش دفع. هذا الانكم عنده قديش؟ 320, and he paid the same as sales taxes. So the tax paid or tax rate paid here، معناها الفاليو is income، يعني هذا مدفوع من الانكم تبعه. 7 over $320 equals how much? 2.2% من his income. هذا مين دفع أكثر؟ نسبيا هذا. نعم طبعا هذا. شوف الاناليسيس هنا ايش بيقول. The first individual earns $2,000 per week, making the sales tax rate on her purchase is 35% of income. In contrast, the other individual earns $320 per week, making her clothes sales tax is how much? 2.2% of income. In this case, although the tax is the same rate here in both cases, well, you see, the person with the lower income pays higher percentage of income. هذا اللي دخله أقل as a percentage pays the same. pays higher than the other here, making the tax regressive. Makes the tax regressive. اللي دخله اعلى نسبته اعلى اقل، هذا الانكم تبعه اعلى، دافع نسبة اقل فعليا. هذا دخله less pays larger, which means regressive tax here. تمام؟ وضحت ولا ما وضحت؟ تمام. Let's go to the narrative here. The regressive tax based on the percentage of income is higher in lower income individuals. هاي شفتوا؟ The regressive tax based on the percentage of income is higher in the lower income individuals. طبعا هذا الديفينيشن تبعه. And here's the graph that shows the relationship. Yes, negative, regressive. As the income, here's the income low, and he pays high. هذا اللي هو هنا. Sorry, هاي هنا. His income is low, and he pays larger percentage of income for taxes. Here, the higher income, the person with higher income pays lower taxes or lower tax rate here. تمام؟ So, the regressive taxes, here are the implications for the regressive taxes. You see, the regressive taxes don't follow the ability to pay principle. صح؟ إذا بنحكي عن ability to pay, هذا this person must pay larger amount for taxes. So this doesn't fit with the principle or the ability to pay principle. That is, people who make more money should pay more taxes. هذا اللي theory تبعت pay ability to pay. The ability to pay principle بتقول إنه the people who make more money should pay more taxes. وهذا doesn't fit مع هذا مع regressive taxes. مظبوط؟ Sales taxes or tax is an example of the regressive taxes. هاي شفناه. Sales taxes هذا sales taxes اللي بنحكي فيه. تمام؟ طبعا في عندنا اللي هو كمان social security taxes, the same. The social security taxes is another example for regressive taxes. خلاص اوكي. يعطيكم العافية.